there is some buzz here at the CFB playoff spring meetings about the idea of a group of 5 postseason tournament. It was discussed years ago but never gained traction. Retiring American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Oresco said he was always concerned that it would, quote, separate us from the big guys, close quote. There is a more detailed story about this from Chris Vanini, who covers the Group of 5 at The Athletic. He writes, Group of 5 administrators have had preliminary discussions in recent months about a G5-only postseason playoff or even wide-scale G5 realignment with the involvement of private equity. Stakeholders from the American, the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the MAC, and Conference USA have told The Athletic that the former NFL and college coach Derek Dooley has been the salesman on behalf of private equity firms making contact with the schools. Now, everybody's talking about this on the basis of anonymity. Nobody wants to have their name associated with it. They say the discussions are very sensitive right now at this point. But I'd like to say congratulations to Derek Dooley and all those others for listening to Sports Talk Mississippi. Now, the responses, I understand the responses on Twitter. You can get whatever you want to get. That's fine. But to Heather Dinich's tweet, we're kind of all over the place. I'll give you a sample. Since they expanded the playoffs, undefeated, ACC title irrelevant, Pac-12 gone, Group of 5 getting pushed out, and all that's left is finding a way to hose the Big 12. Another one. I don't understand how someone as sharp as Oresco thought that the separation wasn't inevitable. I've long thought that a G5 playoff would be awesome. Imagine a team like Western Kentucky, who can never win a CFP, going on a 3-week heater and running through an 8-team G5 playoff. Fun. Here's another response. The only G5 fans who should want this are fans of teams who can't punch above their level. NIL and transfer portal have changed the game, but guess what? The rich programs have been rich for a long time.
Richard, we, on a day you were off, had Will Hall on, and he openly called for it. He wants it, and said as much on this show. Was like, there's been talk of a breakaway. I'm paraphrasing his words. I want that to happen.
I love the idea. I know there are other people that have talked about this. It's been kicked around in the past. We've asked people. We've asked Jeremy McClain about it in the past. And at the time, it wasn't something that was all that palatable. And again, I'm paraphrasing, not trying to put words in his mouth, but it seemed like a bit of a non-starter. I'm just telling you, the more we've talked about it, the more it makes sense to me. I think it could be fantastic. We use Southern Miss as the example, right? Because they're right here in the state of Mississippi. They're a Group of 5 team that has traditionally had a very competitive football program and now find themselves in the Sun Belt with James Madison and Appalachian State and others. Louisiana, Coastal Carolina. You're telling me that the idea of, let's say it's an 18 playoff. And again, I go back to, I'm fine if you want to say, if a Group of 5 team is ranked fill in the blank spot, wherever that is, in the top 20, in the top 12, whatever the number is, then that team can still be included in the playoff. Right? They have earned the right to be in the playoff in a given year. But then just take the next 8 teams. So if you have 8 teams and you seed them 1 through 4, and let's say that Southern Miss is hosting San Diego State, Colorado State, in a first-round playoff game at the Rock. You're telling me that's not the best atmosphere that Southern Miss has had in their stadium in a decade? Hosting a playoff game where they're 2 wins away from playing from an 8-4, 4-2, 3 wins away from winning a national championship. Sorry, I had to do the math in my head. My bad. Play the first 2 rounds at the higher-seeded team on campus. Play the championship game at a neutral site. I don't care where you play it. We love brackets. We love playoffs. We love that format. A national championship game between Southern Miss and Boise State? That'd be must-see TV for 5-6 million people. Maybe more than that. 6 to 8 million people. Pop it on Fox, pop it on NBC, pop it on ABC on a Sunday afternoon, like you had with the FCS championship game this year. Do a huge number. You don't want to put it on Sunday afternoon? Put it on Friday night. Put it on Saturday night. I don't care where you put it. Pick the spot that's most advantageous. Do you guys not think people would love that? Todd in Tupelo says, sounds like the NIT. Who cares? It doesn't sound like the NIT. Because it's football. It's not basketball. It's different. It creates the opportunity to win a national championship for a school that otherwise does not have a chance to win a national championship. Period. How is that not interesting? How is that not fun? Using Boise State as the example, let's make them a top 4 seed. You get a Boise State playoff game in the snow on the blue turf? That's not appointment viewing? I love the idea. Am I off base on this, guys? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I mean, at the end of the day, if nothing else, we watch bowl games. Why would we not watch this?
Where the stakes are significantly higher than they are at the Serve Pro Bowl.
Millions of people watch bowl games. Millions. And they mean nothing.
C-Spire text line to the idea of a G5 playoff. As I would expect, I guess the one thing we didn't talk about is, by the way, it sounds like there might be an infusion of money from private equity groups, which seems like a win also. Cody says it's an awesome idea. Anyone saying otherwise is lying to themselves. Who doesn't want extra football? Hey, Dad, is that you texting in as Cody?
I'm not, but I don't know Cody, but dang it, do I respect him.
But it's not extra football, and here's what I mean by that. Extra football is bowl games. We already get that. This is extra meaningful football, and that carries so much more weight. When people say NIT, no, it's not the NIT, because this would be creating a separate division, is what it would be. It would be they would call it something different, I assume. So it would be Premier League, Division 1AA, 2, 3, however they want to call it. It would be a new division.
But only for the purposes of the postseason, right?
They would still play each other. I mean, FCS teams play FBS teams. They can still play each other. Absolutely. There's nothing saying that they can't, right? It's just you have a championship to play for. And when Haydad and I talked about this after what Will Hall said, because we were so surprised how candid he was. Not a knock. It's just football coaches don't talk so openly about stuff like that. I immediately brought up my background, as I do probably too much. When I would go to playoff games growing up at Paladin Stadium with 10,000 people, you couldn't tell a single player on the field, a coach on the field or in the booth, or a fan in the stands that game didn't matter because it wasn't the FBS championship. Nobody there that day thought anything other than this is the most important game of our lives. And it was awesome to be a part of. So no, the Group of 5 championship, whatever they want to call it, would not be the best team in all of college football. But when has anybody from the Group of 5 been the best team in all of college football? When has that happened? When is the last time that's happened? It hasn't happened since I've been alive.
Mm-mm.
Those games would matter. Your season would matter it wouldn't feel like the NIT. That's a consolation prize. It would feel like a championship.
I agree. I absolutely do. George in West Point said, how many people watch the USFL or UFL Pro League games? To me, this is what you're talking about with Southern Miss and Boise State. And my argument against that is, no, those teams don't have loyalty, right? They just are teams in a city and it's something to do. Group of 5 fan bases are passionate fan bases. And it creates, to me, it creates the opportunity for those passionate fan bases to be able to celebrate a championship in the same way that Michigan celebrated a championship last year. Alabama has celebrated championships. Georgia has. South Dakota State did at the FCS level this past year. And I don't know. I think it's a marketing boon and everything else.
These are new teams created out of nowhere, playing not in season.
Yeah, and somebody said, well, the layoff. No, you would play it in the same calendar cycle.
100%.
Just find more.
You already do this. To your point, you already do this. You already have the Sun Belt and the AAC and Conference USA and the MAC and the WAC. You already have all these. The Big 12. You already have all these conferences that aren't good. Hey, Dad, you didn't like that? I thought I was going to get you there.
I heard
I thought I was going to get you there. But you already got all this, and they already play postseason games. The structure already exists. And guess what? People watch it. And the structure that it exists in is kind of lame. Bowl games are kind of lame. 10,000 people on a neutral site, they're kind of lame. Put playoff stakes on it.
Watching a football game in an empty stadium, I'll watch it, but it's like, oh, gosh, their own fans can't be bothered to turn out for a bowl game. I get it. But these games won't have that. And when you're flipping channels and you come onto a football stadium with 30, 40, 50,000 fans and they're going crazy, you're going to watch that.
Well, let me give you an example.
Even the casual fans are going to watch that.
Last year, the New Orleans Bowl, the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl on December 16th, was Jacksonville State and Louisiana. Let's just pretend that those were 2 playoff games. I don't care which campus you put it on. Put it on Jacksonville State's campus, put it in Lafayette. 34-31 in overtime, Jacksonville State winning over the Ragin' Cajuns. Or flip it around, vice versa. And you get that game on campus with a berth in the semifinals on the line.
In a newly expanded stadium there in Jacksonville, too, and Louisiana's working on one themselves. So you'd have nice, packed stadiums.
That'd be great.
Incredible environments.
I just think it's an absolute win.